Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the Future Ready Education Summit, which tends to discuss the new practices, opportunities, challenges, and the vision toward making future ready workforce and topics. And we are very excited to have valuable insights from our eminent speakers and interaction with our audience. This two-day summit has the purpose to have a deep understanding of the future of the education sector, how COVID has changed the education system, and how higher and school education institutions are reinventing themselves. In the post-pandemic era, learning experiences in physical as well as online spaces will be enhanced to create more uh, connectivity and collaboration between students and teachers. As we ride the wave of the digital era, it is becoming easier to get connected with a global reach. A world of information is at our fingertips with a click of a button or a simple voice command, and as technology continues to advance, students need to grow their learning with it. Alongside our changing notion of what constitutes a classroom, our ideas about the way teaching are delivered must also be reshaped. We will also discuss and have a look at the current scenario of the edtech industry and how the graph of the growth of the sector is deviating in the post-pandemic era and how is it affecting the market, employment, and the learning environment for students. We will acknowledge the several issues and discuss new ideas to create future workforces, generate employment opportunities, enhance education, and so much more. So, with that note, I would like to welcome our esteemed speaker and delegates to the summit. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we are looking forward to the great success ahead. Thank you. Good morning, all the education leaders. Within 1 minute, we are going to start our panel. I hope uh, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Future Ready Education Summit. And today we have our very esteemed speaker, and we are welcoming. And today, and we are going for our first panel discussion on the topic how EdTech is changing and creating the future landscape of the education sector. So we have our panelist, Dr. Aman Mittal, who is the Vice President of Lovely Professional University, who will also be moderating this session. And we have Dr. S.S. Mantha, former Chairman AICTE, CEO MSKC, MAHAPREIT, Professor NIAS, Bangalore, and Emeritus Professor VJTI, AI and Robotics. And we have esteemed speaker Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi, Director, Birla Institute of Management Technology. And now we are welcoming Dr. Madhu Chitkara, Pro-Chancellor, Chitkara University. Thank you so much, all our edu leaders, to be on this panel discussion. And I hope this panel discussion will lead us to some very valuable insights from you. So I would request Dr. Aman Mittal to moderate this session and take it ahead. Thank you.
Um, Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Shubham, for inviting me to moderate this panel, which has one of the best leaders in the education industry, from Dr. Mantha, the former AICTE chairman, to Dr. Chaturvedi, the BIMTECH director, and Dr. Madhu Chitkara, who's our neighbor university leader from Chitkara University. So it's a complete pleasure to moderate this session, and I think it's a very interesting session that I'm going to be speaking and we all going to be debating about is about how EdTech is changing and creating the future landscape of the education sector. Very interesting topic, and I would like to start this topic discussion with something very interesting. I mean, we know that EdTech is the thing that that helped us to sail through in the COVID, and what is the status of EdTech today, and what is going to be the status of EdTech tomorrow. I mean, this is the three discussion point that I want to have with the panel today. So without delaying too much, I just want to start this session with one question that past in the COVID, when the COVID happened, all the universities, all the institutions, all the higher education, even the school education system was closed down. So I want to start with the past of EdTech, that how this panel thinks that EdTech companies or education technology tools have helped us to stay through this COVID time. So I would request Dr. Mantha to begin this discussion with sharing his idea that what do you think that EdTech has played a role in COVID, and do you think that we could have sailed through COVID without EdTech? And what's your viewpoint on that?
No, I mean, the education certainly has been impacted due to the COVID that we have all seen in the last 2 years. Now, having said that, whether EdTech EdTech did play a very important role in reaching out to students at, remotely while they were not able to attend classes and so on. But having said that too, whether education would not have been, it would not have been possible to provide education to everyone without edtech companies. I don't know. That's probably a subject for research, because what we are today seeing is, some in most of my interaction with people, I've been saying that the post-COVID, the institutions and universities would probably return back to business as usual, and some of the edtech companies have actually closed down. If you have been following the progress of edtech companies in the country and so on, some of the big ones have closed down, who have had a large fund infusion and so on. But that's all part of probably an evolution process. Uh, as far as reaching out to students is concerned, technology did play a very big role, though a lot of uh, the expectations would have been much higher than the way we have adopted technology. Some of the institutions who had an earlier experience with online education and so on were faster to take on the challenge. But most of the institutions who have been forced into the kind of online education and so on, they probably had difficulties. Uh, then we as faculty, most of the people have only retrofit what they were doing in the classrooms onto a Zoom like platform, and the effectiveness of such teaching is probably something it's highly questionable in many institutions, because in order to save on bandwidth, people were asked to switch off the video, people were asked to mute the speakers, and the technology probably would have given the attendance and how many people have joined and so on. But that's neither here nor there. So effectiveness of that has been a question mark. The Some of the institutions which had subscribed to the content, third party content providers like Coursera, Udemy or edX and so on, they have probably been a little better off, because the content took care of some of the fallacies of coming on teaching in an online mode and rattling out a lecture as we otherwise do in a classroom. So in that sense, yes, the technology did play a part. The institutions which had recourse to LMS, a good learning management system, did keep track of the progress of the students, and in some institutions the faculty as well, and that did make some difference. uh, so the edtech companies, wherever they intervened in terms of content, in terms of providing a platform to reach out to students, it did make a difference.
Sure,
But
sure. Thanks.
there was always a question of the digital divide. It cannot be said that everyone did get to access the
Sure,
content
sure.
as we would have expected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I thank you, Mantha sir, for sharing the very valuable input. Effectiveness of the teaching during the COVID time, during the tech lab. But I want to shift to Dr. Madhu Chitkara, and I want to ask her that do you think that the COVID time we sailed through, definitely kudos to our faculty members who have worked day and night and given their best during the COVID time. But do you think it is the EdTech which has helped us to sail through, or was it the communication tools like Zoom or Google Meet? Really, I mean, whom you would give more credit to? I mean, of course, the first credit that goes to the faculty. But if we talk about the technology, is it the communication tools, or is it really the EdTech company like Coursera or Academy or Upgrad that you give credit to?
I think, Namaskar, Dr. Mantha and Dr. Chaturvedi. I think it's a great platform where, such the stalwart in education, I think we have learned so much from Dr. Mantha, and every day we are going through the articles given by Dr. Mantha in the newspapers, and he has done a thorough research on it. And sir, thank you very much for giving the people, the common man, about that how the education system is working. So I think now, because this is a platform where we have to talk about that edtech, how it is changing, and well asked question, Aman, that whether we should give the credit to these edtech platforms or to the stakeholders, mean the professors, the teachers, those who have done it. So who were better? So it is that. It's not, you can't compare it that the edtech platforms were better or betterly used, or the people who have used it were more professionally or more efficiently experts in that. So I think, if you talk about the pandemic, so this has affected many industry, but especially if you talk about the education, it was more affected. Reason being, the stakeholders were much in number, So, with the right kind of technology which we were able to use, maybe it is a combination of these tech platforms, maybe it is programs given by Coursera or edX or any of the platforms, and added to it are professors, the educationists, those who have done a hard, I think their efforts were must be appreciated, that they have given and they have used very effectively these platforms where the students were not affected. And I think the effect of this is that we are able to use the digital simulations, the models which is helping the students for better understanding of the concepts, the disciplines. And you see that with so much of population in India, so many students were involved in it. I think we are all the way winners using this technology, and I think they should be treated as a front runners. All my teachers, all the teachers of the world should be treated as the front runners, that they were in a week's time they were able to combine the facilities, tech facilities which were available and which they created themselves for giving the technology and using the technology to the best and facilitate all the stakeholders at a very faster pace. I think during this time, all the whether it is evaluation, whether it is teaching learning processes, whether it was research, it was to the best. And I think during these COVID times, every organization, every teaching institute has been able to give so much to the community. So I think that was, I think, great thing, and both the platforms are to be appreciated for it.
Thank you, Madhu. I'm gonna go to Dr. Chaturvedi and ask a similar question that what do you think that how we will be able to use the technology better? I mean, again, this similar question. Do you think it is the faculty, is it the tech players, or is it the content players, or the communication tools like Google Meet and Zoom? Who you give more credit, and what do you think? What really pushed and helped the Indian higher education system to sail through such COVID times? Who you give more credit to?
So your question is related to whatever has happened in education sector and particularly in higher education during last 2 years when
Absolutely.
when all of us were passing through uh, COVID-19. I would like to say that it was a situation which required the collaboration between technology players as well as higher education institution, because higher education cannot be delivered without teachers, without classroom, without universities and without colleges. Come what may, for next so many decades, I think, although a lot of predictions are being given that EdTech will take over, and the way Uber and Ola have taken over the mobility or road transport. But I still feel that in emerging economies and countries like India, we require both universities and edtech companies. But there is some problem in edtech companies. Without technology, higher education cannot grow in the new environment when disruptive technologies are coming. Generation G is not ready to learn from the traditional methods, and they need customization also, because the existing mode of teaching in our country and all over the world, it is mostly teaching 60 students in a classroom by same method, by same tools and techniques, and not giving customized experience. And it is necessary for the physical presence of the student. So technology has broken all the limitations of traditional mode of instruction, and I think in that way technology played a very important role. But edtech companies, being for profit, they are unable to understand that in India, large number of people, they cannot participate in technology which is beyond their paying capacity. And in higher education, there are all kinds of universities and colleges which provide education to all kinds of children. And there are schools in villages, English medium schools, they are teaching English in 100 rupees per month fees. and there are schools which are charging 20,000 or 50,000 rupees per month. So I would like to say that technology has to play a big role in future also. If you ask me, although your question is related mostly what went in during the COVID, but some of the trends are very creating some concern among educational professionals like us, that the for-profit edtech companies, they are increasing their valuation. They are enrolling large number of students, particularly school education K-12 sector, and they are armed to sting parents. And I have seen that they are abusing each other also. There is cutthroat competition in K-12 system, and it may happen in higher education also. And second concern is that the companies which are providing platform, they are charging too much for the platform. Like uh, we have some experience of working with one of the top company. They are charged. Uh, they have charged 70%. Sharing is 70-30%. So we are delivering. We are very active partner. Only for marketing and technology platform, they are charging 70%. So in future, we have learned a lesson that we shall not be succumb to their pressure, and we shall ask for 50-50. So I think education, in spite of so many criticism, but it is definitely working not for profit. The surplus cannot be siphoned off from the by the promoters. It has to be
Absolutely.
reinvested. Where in the
Absolutely,
in
sir.
edtech cases, there are many kinds of financial manipulations. That's why unmindful hazard growth is creating crisis, and they are laying off thousands of people.
Sir, I'm going
So
to come to the present part as well. So I know that we'll be talking about the the past, that know how the EdTech has helped us in working with the saving us through the COVID time, and how it has helped us in the past. But I'm just going to come to the present, and Dr. Chaturvedi, what the point that you were trying to make. So I just want to cover in this particular section of this debate that, past, nobody can deny that no, EdTech has played the role, communication tool has played the role, and of course the faculty has really used this communication tool, EdTech players, to make the learning as effective as possible during the hard times. Let's come to the present. Now as Dr. Chaturvedi also is mentioning that, there is a cutthroat competition among the EdTech players. We see and hear the news of various EdTech players laying off thousands of people. We hear I shared a link yesterday in the group that mentioned about the companies who are shutting down their businesses in the present time, EdTech players. So now, I mean, when the COVID is, we can say that we have sailed through the challenges that COVID posed, and EdTech really grew that time. In the present, when the colleges are open, universities are open, schools are open, what do you think would be what would the present case, or how the EdTech would really be growing in this present time? So I'll start with Dr. Mantha. That what do you think that what's the present scenario in the EdTech sector, and what do you think about that? So you're on mute.
Yeah. First of all, I thought, apart from whatever the edtech companies did or not do in the last 2 years, what they have conveyed to the education scene is that there is an alternative, and the alternative needs to be explored in terms of seamlessly fitting into the current education system. So what we probably will look for in future is a hybrid kind of education, where a part of it could go online and a part of it could become face to face. Now that's a reality that has emerged in the last 2 years, maybe because of the progress that the edtech companies have done, and some of the way the institutions have adopted that, and so on. Now, the how it will progress in future will depend on the kind of revenue models they have, the kind of business initiatives that happen, and how there is going to be a hand holding between the institutions and the companies. I mean, we have heard that in the last 2 about 3 years time, we have had almost 4,000 edtech companies, and I believe about 100 or 150 would actually survive in the market, and probably 50 of them would go anywhere, in providing solutions and so on. A lot of money also needs to be reinvested into research and defining new pedagogies, defining in terms of how you profile a student, his requirements, and how you move towards actually what we define as personalized learning. Now that's something that would probably happen whether we like or not in future, and that's where the edtech companies play a part. But having said all this, how do the institutions adopt technology where they influence the edtech companies? Unless the institutions adopt the technology, there is nothing the edtech companies can do. So probably the edtech companies have to drive their adoption by the institutions, and the institutions must also relate favorably with what is happening. Now, in this space, economics makes a very big difference. I mean, I coming from the government sector almost all my life, either been in the state government or the central government. I was always looking at education for not for profit, which Chaturvedi sir also mentioned. But my personal view is, we within the government, we don't express the personal views, as you know. But then now being outside it, I would like to actually see why can't there be for-profit institutions? I mean, why should education be only in the non-profit sector? This is the first point. There are good reasons to say this. I mean, of course there are people who need education. They don't pay. They all that is there, but that has to be supported by the schemes which the government proposes and things like that. But then quality requires money. Even today, if you see, most of the institutions act like for-profit institutions. I mean, you check anybody's audit statements and you'll realize what is happening. It's only on paper that we are writing it, they are not for profit and so on. Anyway, so therefore cost will make a very big difference. In this space, what must happen is the business models have to be relooked at by the edtech companies. Today, in order to run an institution, you need certain administrative applications, and you need certain academic-based applications. Like, for example, you need an ERP, you need CRM, you need LMS, you need examination conducting, proctored and non-proctored and so on. For digital records, you need some applications. For accreditation, for assessment, you need various applications, and there are various vendors in the market. There's not a single product which puts all of them together. So every institution has to go and subscribe individually to these applications and then do a back-end integration, put them all on. That's a very big job, and not exactly called for from the universities, from the institutions. So therefore, what is required is, there must be an effort to put all these applications, bring on all the different vendors, get their APIs, put them on one single application, build a multi-tenant architecture, multi-instance them, and host on a cloud, which means that I white label every single application. There is only one application that is running, but a white label which is available to every institution, and the application is seen as though it belongs to the particular institution. Now, in this model, what happens is the per student per annum subscription drastically comes down, and that's where the challenge is, and that's where the opportunity is. So therefore, going in future, people will attempt this. Some people are attempting that. In fact, we also are we are also coming up with some such product, and I hope that's the way for the edtech companies to go. And there is a big future for edtech companies, in the sense that I said something at the beginning: hybridization of education, and that's a reality.
Thank you, Dr. Mantha, and I hope the edtech players are listening, as you have given a very good idea on how to make a super education app, as Tata is trying to bring a super app, so a super education app. So moving to Dr. Madhu Chitkara, and I want to ask you, ma'am, when remember, we've been on so many panels together. We were talking about that during the COVID time. That how the hybrid education will be the future of higher education in post-COVID time, and a lot of other things around that. So, what do you really think that now we have all the institutions are open, the colleges are open. What do you think that what we spoke in the COVID time is it really relevant today, and or maybe will be relevant tomorrow, or we've really moved on?
I think I'm with Dr. Mantha, and just continuing with his thought. Uh, I think we all have to understand that this challenge which COVID has given us, that has become an opportunity for all our educational institutes. So I think now the need is, now what is the latest need is, continuing to Mantha sir's thought, that there is a need of designing an edtech policy architecture. So how we have to do this? For that, there should be edtech policy architecture, and it should be focusing on the four key elements. Now, if you see our verticals in educational system, the first should be the accessibility. So we have to provide the access to learning, especially to the disadvantages group, so which we were mentioning, that where the technology was very effectively used by the people, especially in the urban areas. But in some of the areas, still there is no connectivity, and they were not able to get the full benefit of the education during these times. So now in future also we have to understand that that is our responsibility to give the accessibility to people, those who were downtrodden, those who were disadvantaged groups, where we were not able to send those facilities. So the first is this. The second will be that we have to focus on the processes of teaching, processes of learning, and the evaluation. So I think these three verticals are to be taken care. That technology, if we are using it in future also, we have to take care that it should be best of the teaching learning processes and best of the evaluation also. Then the third, which I think we all have understood, there was the facilitating the teachers about the technology, about the continuous professional growth, which is that FDPs are required now in future also, to make them understand that those who are not very much comfortable with the technology part, we have to make sure it is our moral responsibility to make them very comfortable. So all of them should be on the same platform. Then only the future will be very safe using this hybrid type of learning, and hybrid type of teaching also. And next will be the governance. I think both of Chaturvedi sir was also telling that we have to siphon the money. The governance systems are to be increased, and planning, the management of the funds, and the monitoring the all the processes. Now it will become our responsibility to see that whatever we did during this COVID, the after COVID also, in future also, that we have to take care of the governance of those verticals which we started working on. And then how to monitor all the processes which we started. It should not be again the same system in a class of 60 students, that that in our times it was two per method, that I am telling something, I am teaching, whether they are learning or not, it is not our cup of tea. So now I think this is a hybrid learning model to be used, some in online mode, some in offline mode. And for that, the UGC also has given this mandate to all of us, that 40% of the courses can be given using those online programs. So I think now the future is very interesting for all of us to work on. And other student has also started enjoying both the models. So now we have to be very sure about that it should go a long way, and we have to use the technology. I will give you one example, that for that, Aman, we have in Chitkara also, and I think in all the universities, we have started, we have made a studio, which is Studio 401, which is technologically very professionally made, where all the programs with all the platforms can be used, and one point of time we can interact with thousand of the students. So I think these type of technology, we have to invest money in the technology also. I think this will be the future, and
Thank you.
we have to take care of that also.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chitkara ma'am. I think it's very important that we keep investing in the technology, and we should not stop as the COVID has just gone up, because most of the institutions have faced the problem because they've not invested into technology
Yes.
in the past. Dr. Chaturvedi ji, I want to continue the same similar question. Do you think like BIMTECH, BIMTECH is a very, again, a technology management oriented institution. So what do you think that you will still be using a lot of hybrid education in, are you really going to plan it? A lot of hybrid education in the present semester that's going to start in July and forward, or do you think that involvement of hybrid would cut down in times to come, or it will increase? What's your viewpoint?
Aman, you have raised a very interesting question. On last week on Saturday, when we asked this new batch at our institute in the commencement day program that would you like to attend classes in a hybrid mode, online mode, or offline mode? All students, they were vociferous that they like only offline mode. So, like in tourism, there has been revenge tourism. So, in higher education also, students who have not got opportunity to study in college campuses, they want campus life. They want to enjoy it. So, right now they are very demanding that it should be 100% offline. Otherwise, they will start asking to reduce the fees, like which has happened in US also. So, I would like to say that pandemic like COVID will continue to come, and there will be disruptions caused by global warming issues, floods, typhoons, droughts will disrupt the civic life in higher education. And I want to just quote a new book authored by Roger Martin from Rotman Business School, Canada. He's a management thinker. He has said that to predict the future, in management, we have been taking the data from the past. Whatever has happened in past, study the past trends and predict the future on the basis of the past data. This is not to be a successful tool in future. You cannot predict future. Nobody could predict that COVID will come and disrupt the whole world. So I would like to say that the future there will be more and more disruptions, and we will require technology many times, either 100% or hybrid mode. Okay, but I think there should be some collective efforts to be made by higher education institutions, by their forums. And EPSI, which I represent, and Madhuji or yourself represent, we can work together that buying any product or software, we can do a collective bargaining. Like for proctoring, many firms were asking to give 35 lakhs for 800 students, and 35 lakhs for a single activity, that there should be some credibility, or there should be some 100% honesty in the examination system. You have to pay 35 lakhs. And AdTech, because of their competition, they will continue to do. Some of them have done started advertising that degree will be granted by them. So and so university degree will be provided. EdTech was advertising, so UGC has to intervene because government was concerned how EdTech can take the place of the universities. But in future, it may be possible that top tech company like Amazon or Microsoft or Google, they will provide some platform, and they will become a big competitor of higher education institutions. Even in school education, Khan Academy can become competitor to lakhs of hundred thousands of schools. So I think future is very unpredictable. We cannot predict on the basis of what happened in COVID or before COVID, but we should be ready that students will demand use of artificial intelligence, augmented reality and virtual reality, use of these disruptive technology in education, so that they can have fun, entertainment, knowledge at their disposal whenever they want to study. They want to study at midnight, and we cannot teach them in midnight unless we use the technology. So I think next decade will be very interesting, but we need a lot of collective bargaining and thought given by Honorable former Chairman AICTE Dr. S.S. Mantha, that
Thank you.
technology can be purchased by the collective bargaining of universities and colleges, and government can also intervene. Like for simulation, my institute is paying every year 12 lakh rupees for a batch of 400 to a US based company, and they are making big profit. They have developed a simulation. Capstone is the name of the simulation. They have developed it 10, 15 years back. There are 4, 5 owners of the company, and they are not listening. Harvard
Yes,
Business
sir, I
Review,
think, I
Harvard
think
Business School.
that is the point, sir. When the technology, you can really earn a lot of money if you invest in the right time, and that's what Dr. Chitkara is also saying, that no, we need to keep investing in technology. We have less time, so I want to cover one more topic quickly, Dr. Mantha, with you. Dr. Chitkara has very mentioned about, there is, like all the higher education institutions are kind of regularized by so many bodies. So many bodies, and you've been part of one of these bodies yourself. Do you really think that no, it's time that even the edtech players, the big players, they're earning a lot of money? What Dr. Chaturvedi is saying, that no, they're charging huge money. Is it the right time that we should also regulate them? There should be some regulation around the edtech players, necessary, especially when you've seen so many disruptions happening, so much money being pulled into the edtech players, they're laying off people. They are, as Dr. Chaturvedi mentioned, that no, we're paying so much money to them. What do you think? There should be some regulation that should come out for the edtech players as well. I don't know. I'm trying to put you on a spot, but yeah, let me do that.
See, I personally feel the best form of regulation is self-regulation. So, but saying that is not enough, because we, as a society, have multiple interests involved, and there are different sets of people with different backgrounds, different social backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, and so on. So therefore, expecting everybody to self-regulate would probably be extremely difficult. But therefore, you have regulators. You have it's like saying the best of the institutions would probably self-regulate. You can expect them to probably do that. But then there are a host of institutions in the, say almost 85% of the institutions who would probably try and cut corners to make, a little more money and make the students pay for that. So in that sense, you need a regulator to keep an eye on them and maybe see that there is a level playing field provided for everybody. So in that sense, a regulator probably should be enabling rather than constructing and stopping activities from being done and so on. But then there is a very thin line between what I'm saying and what actually happens. So now there is another dimension which you have brought in, that of edtech companies, and you are probably promoting or proposing a view that the edtech companies also need to be regulated. Now, this personally, I feel any regulation should not become overbearing in the sense that the very essence of regulation loses meaning and the other side suffers in the process.
Dr. Mantha, just wanted to correct. I'm not proposing that there should be regulator. I just want to view your viewpoint, because in the parliaments as well, this debate has happened, and now the ethic players are putting so much of content online, while the institutions, we have to go through so much of grind while coming out with a new course or something. While ethic players, they just come out with something and just set it off at 40,000, 50,000 rupees for a 2-month course. I'm just talking with that respect.
See, it's like saying there are so many automobile manufacturing companies. Each vehicle has its own way of the quality aspects and things like that, and the specifications that they have, and each one has a certain price a portion, and it's up to the people to buy whatever they feel like. And there is, of course, there is a regulating body even there, SIAM, if you Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers Association. Now these are things which try and see that fair practices are practiced. So even in the tech space, that is what is going to happen unless you first of all recognize education as industry. Then all the dimensions you define, and each dimension you specify what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Now if you start doing all that, the scope for innovation, the scope for that reduces. So therefore, rather than saying that the edtech companies, I mean, if somebody is saying that his course would cost 50,000 rupees as against another course where they may be charging 20,000 rupees, it's up to the people to decide. I mean, they will decide where to go. If they find that there is a value, or in short, the market forces will determine who's deciding course. So
let me redefine it.
The framework that's available. But if you get into the domain of trying to tell them that your course should be charged only for 20,000 rupees, irrespective of what it is, either the quality will go down or they will cut corners.
So let me reframe it. So I think what you're trying to say, that it has to be level playing. So
Absolutely.
probably for even in the higher education institution, the regulation should come down instead of going up. Instead of saying that there should be regulation for them, but we should rather say that the regulation should be brought down for the traditional higher education institution. I don't know. I'm just thinking it.
No, that is because today. No, that is because today some of the institutions are facing a problem because of the edtech companies and their content and the way they are promoting it and so on. And I know the example that Chaturvedi did mention about.
So sorry, I'll move to Dr. Chitkara. I would say that at Chitkara institution also you have invested hugely on the technology. Do you think that it is the time when higher education institutions like you, our lovely professional university, BIMTECH, Chitkara, and Dr. Mantha's institution, it's a time that we should become a tech player ourselves instead of giving this huge field to some techies instead of the people who really understand academics. What do you think about that?
I think, Aman, we are already at tech companies. If you see that whatever we have done, they are not able to do it. We whatever
Absolutely.
investment is done by our organizations, that tech companies will not be able to do it. They are sitting in one room, taking the help of the people, those who are passed out from our organizations, and they are making their ERPs, they are making their programs. So I don't think so. They can any point of time. Sorry to all the tech companies, they will be able to compete with the universities where they have given the physical environment also to them. I think Chaturvedi sir was saying that now they are ready to come to physical mode, because it's very important for them that they learn, I think 40 or 50% in the classroom from the teachers, but 60% of the teaching is done when they are interacting with their peers, when they are sitting with them in the library or in the tea house or in the food courts. I think they are learning more in that. So that is why they all want to come back now whenever we have given the notices. So for that, we already are the edtech companies, and whatever the universities and the colleges have done, or even the schools have done, that we have all our ERP companies. I think we all have our own ERP system. We all have our own MIS system. So we are very far ahead of those edtech companies. They can be a great help to us. Where some of the programs, I can tell you that if Python is to be given, that course is to in the module, we can tell the students that this module is very good in this particular platform, so you can go and we can evaluate. You don't pay them for evaluations. We will take that as a credit course in us, and because there is no choice based learning, and so they can take many courses as elective courses, we can make that a part of it. But the basic thing which the content is to be given, it will be under a formal education system where they have to follow. And I think they will not be basically focusing only on the tech companies and doing all the programs there. It is always, as we discussed, that it is in hybrid mode, and some programs are to be done by the educational institutions like us. So I think there is they will have only support to us. They can be facilitators to us, but not the whole educational system. So I think
Thank you.
what
Aman,
we are
thank you.
able to do,
Thank you,
we
ma'am.
will
And
not be able to do that. Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. I think it's very important that you say that we are already, all the education institutions are
Yes.
already tech players, and we need to kind of grow our technologies and capabilities and probably
I
look.
think, Aman, we have understood that we were already on those paths, but we were not able to understand our, you can say, potential. So now we, because of
Absolutely.
the pandemic, we are able to understand that we were already ready, but nobody has kicked us or nobody has given that challenge. Now we
Okay.
have understood that we were having the potential and we have explored it. I think that was
Thank
the
you.
thing. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Dr. Chaturvedi ji, so what do you think? I mean, no, we're just finding up this thing, this session. So, just wanted to understand that. What do you think that in future, EdTech and higher education institution will compete or coexist, or what's your thought about it? Will be competing with each other, or will be coexisting or supporting each other?
I would suggest that they should partner with each other, they should coexist, they should cooperate, collaborate. And this is happening in other industries also, that industry people are going to universities for teaching and university professors are going to industries. So this exchange between industry and academic professionals can be the right model. And I would also like to suggest that higher education institutions should train their teachers for making videos also. So far, we have given them only use of tools like Zoom or Google or Microsoft or Cisco. We should now teach them how to make videos so that we can use videos synchronous and asynchronous model, and the face-to-face classes should be used only for discussion. So students
Sorry.
should see the videos first before coming to the class for studying a topic, and they should be guided by the students for self-learning by interactive discussion mode, and then live videos can also be used. So it will be a very fusion of different technologies as well as the human element of face-to-face teaching. So future will definitely not give 100% to edtech or 100% to traditional method. It will be a fusion, collaboration, coexistence, competition,
Thank you.
cooperation and competition.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, the whole panel. As we come to the end to this very interesting session, that no, we had very varied viewpoints around edtech players, traditional education players. Actually, it's already being an edtech player, and how can they take a center stage? Dr. Chaturvedi, we definitely need to come together and bargain with these edtech players to ensure that it's a win-win for everyone. So I think there's a lot of good discussion that we had, and I hope all our viewers who are watching this video would benefit from the discussion we had today. So thank you, Chaturvedi ji, thank you, Mantha sir, thank you, Madhu ma'am, for being part of it, and thank you, Shubham, for inviting me to moderate this wonderful leaders and speakers, and I had a very good time. Thank
If
you,
you
Shubham.
Uh,
permit, if you permit, I can share that Dr. Aman Mittal and a group of young edu entrepreneurs for last 2 years, they are making efforts to set up companies which will provide a very state-of-the-art technology to higher education institutions. And it is a big effort being made by them. I am hopeful that some concrete results will come out in this year.
Thank you,
sure, sir.
Chaturvedi ji. We'll show you
It
that.
Uh,
is under auspices of EPSI. They are doing it.
And Dr. Aman, congratulations for your first. I think you have explored your potential for becoming a good moderator. So thank you for making all of us
No, no,
very
he is very.
comfortable.
I think future of higher education belongs to people like Aman Mittal or
Young,
Subham
yes,
Thakur.
Thank you,
They,
sir.
Thank
yes.
you, thank
they
So
you.
will
young,
definitely
Really.
find
young,
out the way.
young should come. Sir, great combination
Young
of
and
young
bright.
and old. Yeah, young and old. Yes,
Young and bright.
Yeah.
yes.
So, thank you so much, all our respected eminent speaker, for sharing insight on the topic and making this panel discussion very interesting and full of knowledge. And I would like to especially thank Dr. Aman Mittal sir for moderating this session. And Uh, for the audience in this panel, we are so honored to host Dr. Aman Mittal, sir, Vice President of Lovely Professional University, Dr. S.S. Mantha, sir, former Chairman AICTE, CEO MSKC, MAHAPREIT, Professor NIAS, Bangalore, Emeritus Professor VJTI, AI and Robotics. And thank you so much, Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi, sir, who's the director of Birla Institute of Management and Technology. And the last, thank you so much, Dr. Madhu Chitkara ma'am, for joining us, who is the Pro-Chancellor of Chitkara University. Thank you so much for all sharing the insights and being in the summit. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, all of you.